Hope others will also join with us. This is the third session we are going to have on operations management. Am I correct? Third one. So before moving to the third topic, let me complete one missing area in this topic towards end of last discussion. That was on product design. There was a simple question, but that is important. That gentleman was asking, is that the same product design process applicable to services? Because I didn't explain about service design. So I might take 5, 10 to 15 minutes maximum to explain little more details about the service designing process. Because we almost completed the product design part of it. Didn't we? Hello? I hope you remember, right? Product designing. So that is specifying the characteristics of the product, coming up with a process, we call it process engineering, right? And prepare the product specification, process specification, and then develop it using the product development process, right? And some other concepts relevant we discussed. Right? In the same manner, in service industries, they should also specify the service and their service characteristics. Then, of course, the service process. Two things. One is the service should be designed, and then the service process. Two things. So let's spend 5, 10 or maximum 15 minutes to understand a little more details about it. Is that clear? But we are going to discuss about service design because that is important, right? Now, can you name me few industries, service industries, where you think service design is relevant? What are the service industries that you know? What are the service industries that you know? Hello? Hospitals, healthcare services, right? Now, in the country like Sri Lanka, in addition to government hospitals, there are private sector hospitals as well. That is one lucrative business in almost all the countries now. Healthcare services, hospitals, right? Good. What else? Learning or educational institutes like secondary or tertiary, like schools, universities, other institutions providing educational services, like Galle Institute. Even one part of it is conducting, not only conducting lectures, no, but basically conducting exams and evaluations and all. Right? So educational institutes, they do have their services. What else? Hello? Financial services like banks, insurance companies, leasing companies, accounting firms, audit firms, right? And various different financial services, including advisors, stock brokering, and everything, right? So financial services, of course, right? That are relevant mostly to a crowd like you. Right? In addition to that, there can be other services like airline services, restaurants, right? Retail outlets like shopping malls, supermarkets. Can you understand? So as you know, in most of the developed countries, around 50% to maybe even 70 to 90% even. Economic transactions are coming from the service industries. Out of the GDP, total GDP, maybe around 60 to 70 to 80 to 90% coming from services. So that means how important the service industries are. So we try to understand how service design is handled by those firms. There is no one way to do it, but basically for customer services, as you say, what I mean by customer services for the consumer services, services aimed at consumers, like restaurants, like hospitals, banks, and other financial services, right? Or any other how should they design their service, and then a service process, right? And the practices they use. Now, there is no difference. Whether that is in manufacturing or services, their output should be designed. But in manufacturing industries, they need to design a product which is a tangible thing. The output, they can say, okay, this is the product, this is the specification, this is the product we are going to produce. Tangible. Main challenge with service is that there is no basically a tangible thing. Because as the service, what they are going to offer is an intangible thing. Right? So what to design? So that is the problem. So that is the challenge. Can you understand it? There is nothing like tangible. This is what we are going to offer to our customer. Let's go to a restaurant. There are different, let's say, franchised restaurant chains. KFC, Pizza Hut, McDonald's, right? So from place to place, what they offer is different, but it's very difficult to specify. This is what we are going to offer, isn't so? Right? So there the challenges are huge, right? So service, what we should design as a service is different. So for our education purpose, studying purpose, we identify in services what to be designed. We call it, for services, a service package should be designed. Right? A service package. That may include different elements. For our studying purpose, they are divided into three main aspects. Right? I hope you understand and you follow me. So, service design defines the characteristics of a service that has mainly these three elements for our education purpose we can identify. So, there should be something called physical elements. Together with that, two other benefits, economic benefits and psychological benefits. That is how it is explained in textbooks. In relation to a service package should be specified. A service package comprises of three elements. One is the physical element, and the other one is aesthetic benefits, and then psychological benefits. And together, it is a service package. Right. So, what can we identify as physical elements of a service? What do you think? Hello? You need to think with me. You need to refer to your experience as customers. Then, of course, your experience as managers. So, in a service, what could be included under physical elements? As the term implies, the physical or some tangible aspects of it. So, even that is a service, there can be certain tangible elements. Can you understand it? Like at a restaurant, what are the tangible elements relevant for a business like restaurant? Food items, menu items. It plays a huge role, right? When customers decide which place to visit, which outlet to go, right? The tangible elements, menu items. So physical elements. When it comes to hospital, what could be included in physical elements? Is that same thing? No, different. Could be various different physical aspects applicable for a hospital service, like the physical facilities provided to the patients, including medical drugs, food facilities, food and all, food and beverage, and various other physical parts. Hello, right? So, like the physical elements of a service. Understand? In an airline service, In an airline service, maybe I don't know. Uh, Plane. That physical the aircraft and the facilities are known, but mainly let's say physical facilities provided, like the seating arrangements, space, and other physical facilities provided at the aircraft. That is one part of physical elements. What else? In an air travel, what physical elements you would expect? Food and beverage, of course. Right? So from package to package, airline to airline, that is different, and that is why we prefer certain airline services over the other. So physical elements, are they important? Yes. However, in addition to that, it's good to include some amount of aesthetic benefits and psychological benefits also coupled with, so to make their services unique. I don't know whether you understand it. Aesthetic benefits, ambience, and the things or the benefits that customers can feel, touch and feel. Right? That should be unique. That should be different from other service providers. Ambience, physical arrangements, staff wearing uniforms, right? And the other furniture and physical arrangements. Is that important? Yes. When you go to a restaurant, whether that place is arranged nicely, neatly, clean manner, right? So that gives them a confidence that the food of this place should be hygienic. Right? So that's an aesthetic benefit. To make the service unique, we should couple some of them also. And psychological benefits. Some kind of entertainment or fun or some relaxation to the human mind. Music, background music, the way that the service provider interacts with the customers more in a way that create, that inspires trust between the service providers and the customers. Right? Say one example, when you go to a hospital, right? From the nursing staff to the doctors, when they talk to you nicely and explain you the treatment and the situation, and you feel like this place seems to be trustworthy. Right? They are confident on what they are going to do. Right? So you assess the service based on that. When you go to a restaurant, unlike a normal hospital, unlike a normal hotel, right? When you go to a good restaurant, you feel like they treat us nicely. They took the order quickly and they let us to spend the time leisurely, right? And stay a quality time there. Understanding? So a service, when we design it, we have to think of all these different aspects and arrange them as a package, because customers would evaluate their experience as a total package, not as an individual item. Understanding? So when it comes to service design, that is challenging, but we need to make sure at least these few aspects are coupled together, arranged together nicely to differentiate this service from the other. Clear? It's not only the service, but they should also design how we ensure that these service elements are created and delivered consistently to our customers. It's also important, right? And that is called the service processes design. Do you think it happens automatically? Do you think managers can expect employees to, service providing staff to understand everything and create and deliver service by themselves without any guidance? No, it won't happen. Who are responsible for that? Management. Management should specify the guidelines, service creation steps and procedures, so that they should educate service providing staff. Can you understand it? And for that, well specified service processes. Well specified service processes are needed together with the service. Otherwise, we can't expect to create and deliver the same service consistently again and again to all customers. So that is about service design. Service should be designed, service process should be designed. For operations and operations management, this is very important in service industries. Most of you are coming from services, especially financial services and audit firms and accounting firms and places like those, so that you should be able to understand it. Anything else you want to know about it? So when designing such services, whatever the process we discuss here can be used, but in a different way. Right? Feasibility analysis. I mean, these are basically for products, but some guidance can be taken from these process, these phases, and then customize it for services and service process. I hope that is clear to some extent. Now, as the last part of here, coming to service processes, there is a technique used in service organizations. There's a technique used in service organizations to map the service process and identify how service creation steps are specified. And that technique is called service blueprint. I hope some of you may have come across. Now, there is something called flow chart. Process flow charts. Have you come across that before? So a flow chart shows what are the steps in which sequential manner a service is created, that is done for a service. Service process flow chart. So this is also a kind of technique used for that, and that its name is service blueprint. Have you heard of it before? Hello? Very important for service businesses, service operations. Very important for service businesses. So a service blueprint is a kind of illustration, it's a kind of map that provides direction, that provides guidance. How a service will be created and provided, and specifying the physical evidences, staff actions, support systems, infrastructure needed to create and deliver the service across its different channels, different steps. So, a sample or a template of a service blueprint would look like this. So, in the blueprint, somewhere in the middle there is a line called line of visibility. Right? In addition to that, there can be line of interaction and line of internal interaction, but they are additional. This is the main thing. What is it? Line of visibility. Can you guess what that is? Line of visibility. Now here, service steps are mapped, documented. So somewhere in the middle, there is something called line of visibility. When in services, hope you can understand, most of the services are created and delivered when customers come to get the service. So, right? Just assume a bank, traditional banks, retail operations. Retail banking, right? So there can be various different banking services provided to customers, like what? Anyone working in banks? Hello? What are the different customer services you provide? There can be a range of services. Maybe account opening, loan application and loan processing, phoning, and then of course exchange, foreign exchange services, right? And various other financial services. So each of them are provided through a service process. Right? For each of them, a blueprint can be developed. Can you understand it? If you think of a restaurant, when they get customers coming to the restaurant, placing the order, communicating that to the kitchen staff, preparing the bill, making the payments, or sometimes after delivering the food, serving the food, right, and then making the bill and settlements and everything. Can you understand? Likewise. So there is line of visibility that demarcates, separates what activities that customers can see. We call them front office activities. Right? Above the line of visibility, we have front office activities. Below the line of visibility, we call them back office activities. Back office operations. In a service, both are important. Front office, back office. For example, this is for a lending operation. A bank providing loan facilities. So how that process should be once that is documented, blueprint is prepared. Now loan application, initial screening, right? Verifying income data, and then going to the next level, credit check from credit bureau, right? And when that is accepted, confirm, process to the next level and notify to the customer. And likewise, different steps. Here the line of visibility, above that customer actions and the service providing actions. Here the back office activities. So in which sequential manner they happen, they are taken, they are performed, and the time taken, cost even can be mapped there. So every time they are supposed to follow the same process to all the customers. That is how streamlined services are managed. So together with the service process should be designed. And for that, techniques like service blueprints are used. I hope you understand it. This is another example. Just it's a very useful technique, especially if you are planning to streamline the operation of a service process, like audit firms or any other service. So a technique like this would be useful. Anything else you want to know about it? Now, this is a little more comprehensive service blueprint. So in addition to line of visibility, there is this line of interaction, line of internal interaction, and then of course what customers do, what employees doing, right? What backstage actions are doing, how the support processes are contributing to each. So little more comprehensive template. And even the time taken for each activity, in which sequential manner it happens, what evidences used, everything can be nicely presented, illustrated here. So all the employees will be educated on this, both front office, back office staff. So they know where they are contributing in the service process, how they should contribute to the customer experience, which manner they should do it. So in addition to that, for service processors, they often use some explicit job instructions, what they should do. Job instructions. Or sometimes even scripts, where the service provider provided with documented script, how to welcome your customer, what questions should ask from them, what responses you should give, right? What other additional details you should collect, right? Nicely scripted, like call centers. When you can get a call to a call center, right? They will follow the certain steps, guidelines for every customer, the same script. So those are very scripted processes, and thereby they make sure the same service, same attention given to all the customers. Sometimes storyboards are used to explain different scenarios. Okay, in this kind of scenario, this is how you should do it. This kind of scenario, this is how you should do it. Right? So likewise. So hope you get an idea. Because compared to product designing, service designing is little more challenging. Because products can be designed and manufactured separately and sell them in the market separately. Services are not like that. Most of the services are created and delivered simultaneously. Sometimes with the participation of customers also. So customer involvement is very important in the service process. Like in education, to ensure a better service in an education institute, there should be proper procedures. This is what facilitators should do. This is how students should participate, and how the other administration and other staff should facilitate. Hope you get an idea, right? Any questions? This is an answer for the question asked last week before ending the lecture. There was a question how service design is done, how that is different from product designing. So there will be part of a question or a full question from product designing part. You should be able to answer questions like what is product design and why that decision is important for a business. Right? From operations point of view, why product design is important, critical. especially from operation side. Hope you can understand the way you design the product, the features, the components and everything, that determines what type of operations you need, what technology, what components you have to manufacture, how you are going to manufacture the product and everything, what materials to purchase, what type of labor is required, machinery is required, what type of layout is required, everything. So the way you design the product affect on most of the other operations decisions. Then of course, you should be able to answer questions like briefly describe the steps of product development process that we identified. Briefly describe the phases of product development process. So you should be able to name them. These are the phases and provide little more details. That begins with the idea generation. Now you can answer even a question like what are unique in service designing? What are the other additional challenges in service designing compared to product designing activities? Product design, service designing challenges, and what is unique there? Service design challenges and how it happens in service design. And of course, we talked about different concepts used in product development activities. So at least a simple idea, but more importantly, this one. How in modern industries, modern businesses, product design related activities are managed. What are the new practices? What are the common practices? We identified two main practices. How product design is handled, managed. One is within the organization, we call them in-house product designing, using dedicated R&D teams or cross-functional teams. We discussed that last week. So due to various different reasons, organizations still follow this approach, which is more reliable, and that gives the company more sustainable competitive advantage. Producing the products within the organization, using their R&D teams or cross-functional. You should be able to describe what is this, why this is important, for what reasons they do it. And as an alternative, the second approach has become more trendy and practical now, which we call outsourcing. Product design activities are outsourced to external product development teams, experts. So they provide a wide range of services, solutions to the clients at a fee. So they handle all the product development activities, or some of them at client's request. So there can be government or state managed product development or research institutes, or private sector external firms in each industry facilitate product development activities. In Sri Lanka also we have some, but let's say, do you know of any Sri Lankan institution involved in providing product development services? Hello? Hello? In different industries they have, of course, in tea industry they have tea institute. In rubber industry they have rubber institute. Right? Most of the plantation sectors they have different institutes, right? And there is something, I mean, under for small to medium scale firms under IDB, Industrial Development Board, there are different institutions established to support with the product development services. Right? Find little more details. I'm just Industrial Development Board in Sri Lanka, right? For rubber products and other services. See now IDB, they have these facilities. Were you aware that they provide engineering services, laboratory services, incubator facilities, services, right? In respective industries. And then we have Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology. They also provide a wide range of services. Okay. So support different industries to improve the products and other things. Understanding? So likewise, find little more details how in different industries this happen. Mind sailors, a design studio. This is just an advertisement, just an advertisement, kind of corporate advertisement, explaining what they do, how they support different clients, designing product designs and all. But it gives you an idea how it happens. Now, clients may come up with certain product ideas, so they help clients to improve the product and design it with all the technical details using their technology, their scientists, their facilities, lab facilities, and everything at a fee. To get the access to state-of-the-art knowledge, technology to manage product designing activities. To start designing the product, that is the basic idea. It's elaborated design. Various different design. This is the most suitable one using advanced technology and techniques and all. Use the little client can select which design would fit there. The usual design will further specify. These are advertisement, right? Sure. Specify the components, how they should be assembled together, the prototypes, all the technical side of it. Latest concept like 18A design for manufacturing. All the lab facilities, product documentation part will also be handled. Now, as to be done, more suitable design. This is an advertisement, corporate advertisement about what they do, what kind of services they provide. So I hope you get an idea, and you have an idea why outsourcing, product design outsourcing is more practical and effective in today's context. With that, let's conclude this topic. Hope you can answer any question coming from this. Well, if you have any doubts, any questions, this is the right time. This is the right time to ask. No? Right. Then let's take a 5 minutes break, in class break, or if you want to go out and come quickly. We have a 5 minutes break. We can have a little longer break later, but this is just to come quickly. අපේ ස්ථාන මාරු වෙන්නේ. සමහර අය සීතලට කැමති නෑ. සමහර අය සීතලට කැමති. එහෙමද? ඔක ඉවරයක් කියන්නේ ප්‍රශ්නයක්. Everyone here? Is everyone here? I hope so. Let me see. Oh, let me see. Right, we have around 1 hour and 30 minutes, I think. And let's try to complete the main part of this topic. Third one, that's on operations capacity planning and capacity management strategies. I think practically this knowledge, this topic would be useful for you all as well. Although you are not going to become operations managers, as accountants, as auditors one day, even now, when you manage your auditing processes, contribute to your organizations, this knowledge is important because you have to manage the capacity there. Are we ready? Refer to the handout as well. Write down additional points so that we can quickly move. Learning awalnya menjadi paham adalah right. We are going to start the third topic, that's on operations capacity planning and capacity management. An important practical topic that is useful for any level of management. So in our content, we will define what operations capacity is and identify capacity measures also. and explain the importance of operations capacity planning from operation side, from business side. I will not pay attention to this in detail. What factors consider when deciding producing in-house or outsource, that I will not discuss here. But we'll pay attention to this mostly. What are the steps operations managers, capacity managers, and other business managers should follow when managing capacity management responsibilities? This is about strategic capacity, strategic operations capacity, not the tactical. Then what are the different capacity alternatives available? Capacity modification alternatives. What factors to consider when deciding those capacity alternatives and all? We will have a quick discussion. Finally, to select the best capacity alternatives, what techniques can be used to evaluate in there? That will also quickly discuss. So that is it. So operations capacity. An important aspect. Don't know whether you are aware and you, I mean, whether you purposely involved here, but I think you are also involved in capacity related decisions in the organization to some extent, even now. Right? When you climb up to the middle level, of course, you will have to handle the capacity related decisions. Even at the top level, you'll have to handle, especially as finance managers. One day, you work there, you'll have to handle some of the capacity related decisions. So what we mean by capacity here, especially operations capacity, because capacity is a common term we use everywhere. Capacity of something that is the upper limit that we expect from it. So capacity. So what we mean by operations capacity here? Well, in managing operations, we use different operations resources. We use different operations resources like machines or production line or factories, right? So we have certain processes we use. So from each of those operating units, there's a maximum output we can expect. Maximum output, also known as the throughput. What is it? The throughput, the volume we can expect. The maximum throughput of an operating unit is what we call operations capacity. There's a maximum limit. Say for example, if you take this as a operating unit like a hall, there's a maximum space here that we can accommodate students. Right? If you think of a place like store, warehouse, that's a maximum cubic feet that we can utilize for the storing purpose, physical capacity. If you take a printer, there's a maximum number of printouts we can expect within a minute or within an hour. So that is the capacity. If you have a production line to manufacture, let's say, biscuits, there's a maximum output we can expect from it, right? So that is the operations capacity. That refers to the throughput, output volume, the throughput or the number of units an operations facility can produce, can store, can receive, or can hold within a specific period of time. Could be within a minute, within an hour, within a day. So like, understanding? So planning operations capacity is a key strategic part of operations decision making. So the managers involved there should make clear decisions. What are the capacity levels we are going to maintain? And how we are going to establish? Such decisions may have long-term impacts on the operations and on the business, in the business. That is why this decision is important. And that is called capacity planning, capacity management. Now, in different industries, different capacity measures are used, right? In different industries, different operations capacities are used because they use different resources. Now, understand that basically we can identify two types of resources, two types of operations in operations management. One we call manual operations. And such operations are mainly used what type of resources? Manual operations? Manual operations? Mostly the labor. Right? So we call them labor intensive processes. Can you understand? There are some factories mainly operated through manual operations, what we call labor intensive processes. Like what? Little bit louder, please. Garment factories, right? And even the large scale garment factories, they mostly depend on labor. Right? Although they use machines, right? To operate machines, they need labor. So labor intensive processes. So most of the small to medium scale factories, they run their processes through workers. So their capacity is mostly involved with the labor force, size of the workforce. And what is the other type of operations? We call it automated operations. And we call them such operations capital intensive. We call them capital intensive processes. So automated processes. So minimum labor, sometimes zero labor. Machines are programmed in such a way that they automate, they manage the processes automatically. Some examples. Have you seen some automated processes? Not necessarily 100% automated, at least 70%, 80% automated processes. Right? Have you seen? Say for an example, like in energy or the electricity generation, turbines and other, hydropower or coal power or petrol or diesel energy plants. Right? This energy generation managed through automated processes. Right? Certain chemical production processes, paint manufacturing, chemical products are manufactured using automated processes. More than that, nowadays, Lexus is one of the brands manufactured by Toyota to upcoming market. So they are automobile design in their factories. There are processes to manufacture certain vehicle components, initially components, parts, and most of them are automated processes. Robo arms, completely various different manufacturing steps, handling steps, robo arms, automated. Vehicle components are manufactured separately. If you ask why they are using automated processes, there can be different reasons for that. One main reason is to maintain the accuracy, precision. Another reason could be they can improve the efficiency of great and productivity, efficiency, so that operating cost would be minimum. So these components are then taken to the production process again, and then in the production process, these are assembled to the main chassis in structure. Most of these operations are handled through automated robo arms, highly efficient. Meantime, there are manual workers also to complete certain processes. And these are the assembling steps. So different vehicle components, now still the structure being assembled, these different parts are assembled to the main structure in an assembly line. These are operations. These are manufacturing processes. Certain activities being handled manually. Some quality inspection. These are inspection steps. Physical observation. Physically inspect whether some scratches are there, some missing, and certain mistakes are there. Observing. inspecting. Of course, as you may know, more than Toyota brand, Lexus that is known for quality. It's complete based on quality. There's a vehicle inner component, dashboard and everything. Similar to the car. These are semi-automated processes. The vehicle parts, components are assembled there. These are the factory workers they have. See the technology and production specs they use. Within 60 seconds, the windscreen is assembled with the vehicle. Less than 1 minute. Sensors are used to handle material, sensor controlled devices, equipment. Automotive technology. As almost done, that is very right. There will be some inspection and quality certification aspect. For testing purposes, the performance of the vehicle will be tested. In the same manner, if you look for BMW, you look for Benz, right? How they manufacture their vehicles and their technology, it's also the same. So we are talking about capacity, right? And then I just introduce you the two types of operations. Manual operations, they are mostly the operations are handled by labor. And then of course automated operations, technically intensive processes, where the capacity of it depends on the machine's capacity. process capacity. When it comes to services, that is what you can understand easily. Right? Most of the services are performed and delivered manually by machine by service of staff, right? Like restaurant, kitchen staff, and the waiting staff and the other staff. Hospitals, doctors to nurses to attendants to supportive staff. So capacity depends on the workforce. Understanding? When it comes to your industry, like audit firms, the capacity of a firm depends on what? Hello? Capacity of an audit firm depends on what? The workforce you have. Workforce attached to different categories, like partners to managers to executives to trainees. That is what we need to understand. Right. So I just gave you this example, but hope you can understand it practically. So capacity measures are different from industry to industry. This chart here, right, will quickly let's quickly identify what are the common capacity measures used in each industry. I'm not going to spend more time on it. So capacity measures can be expressed as input terms or output terms relative to some time period. Say for example, in an organization like automobile manufacturing, the capacity of depends on what we call input measures. It's a production line, how many cars that can be produced, right? So it could be the machine hours available, right? Machine hours available, or the capacity of a process, because they are mostly used. They are mostly using automated processes. So the capacity of the process, how many the machine hours available at the time. It could be for a production line per hour capacity. When it comes to output measures, that means how many cars actually produced within an hour or within a day. Basically, for a day, let's say, number of cars produced within a day. Or number of machine hours utilized for a day or within a day. Another manufacturing example like garment factories, what are the most appropriate capacity measure? Refer to their capacity. You know, capacity measure. What measure to use? Labor hours. Labor hours. Labor hours available. So if you think about a large-scale garment factory, a group of businesses like MAs, they have different clusters. Within a cluster, there are few factories. So one factory, they have an estimation. This is the number of labor hours available per week or per day. Mostly they refer to per week. That makes more sense, more practical when it comes to allocate capacities. So per week, how many labor hours available production. So the output measure could be they call it sold hours or actual units produced, or actual labor hours utilized for the production. Coming to an example like power company, electricity generation, what are the common measures used in terms of input measures? The measure is different, right? Megawatts, right? Maybe hydropower plant or coal power we have. So that depends on the capacity of a turbine and how many turbines they have. So is that per hour electricity capacity or the per day? Per day. That makes more sense, more practical, right? So per day. Well, that is important. What time period we consider? Because for certain industries, per day makes more sense. Some other per week. Even for certain processes per hour or per minute even. That is called a time bucket actually. Right? What is the most appropriate time bucket to refer? So for an electricity generation, it could be per day, within 24 hours. What is the maximum electricity we can expect from it? Output, that is the electricity generated within a 24 hour, within a day. Can you understand it? So from industry to industry, capacity measures are different. These are service examples. Let's say a university. The capacity of the university. Input measures. How we compare the capacity of one university with another? Lecture time. Some other way. Number of students. Size of the intake is the one indicator. Size of an intake. More the size, higher the capacity, right? So a place like SAB, the capacity is limited, so that is why they recruit only a limited crowd. State universities, capacity is higher, so size of intake is higher. Size of intake is one indicator. Likewise, there are other resources required for our university, like lecture halls, physical capacities of the lecture halls, and more importantly in services, together with physical resources, labor is important. So in an education institute, what is the most critical labor? We don't call it labor, but what is important? Lecture, academic panel, size of the academic panel. That shows the capacity. So when we refer to other physical resources like library or lab facilities, that is the physical capacity of each operating unit. Understanding? That is important because we are going to talk about capacity planning and capacity management. So this is what we need to plan and manage. Coming to output measures, when it comes to university, how the capacity of a university is measured in terms of output. Graduates, number of graduates produced. Right. Number of graduates produced. Undergraduates, first degree, second masters, so likewise. And more than that, there are research projects, publications, patents they want, right? So likewise, those are also indicators of output measures. Number of research projects they have successfully completed. Capacity. So when it comes to a lab, let's say, number of lab hours they utilize. Computer hours utilized. Yeah, if we take a warehouse, input measures. Input measures. A warehouse is a place we use to store products, right? So capacity input measure, cubic feet available for storage purposes. What is the total cubic feet, square feet or cubic feet available? That is the capacity. And output measure could be actually utilized square feet or cubic feet within the warehouse, maybe within a week or so, let's say. Actual size of the warehouse utilized. Slide. Can you understand it? That's enough. Right? So for different industries, I mean, let's pay attention to your industry also, like audit firms. When it comes to the operating capacity of an audit firm, which capacity measure would be more practical, more sensible? Hello? Audit firms, accounting firms, mostly depend on labor, right? So for each labor category, from managers to executives to trainee level, number of labor hours available. Number of, you don't call it labor hours, right? What you call it? Productive audit, whatever time to it. Labor කියන්නේ so whatever the time available for you. So some audit firms may have more hours, whereas some others don't. In addition to that, what are the other operating units used, operating resources used for auditing processes? Is that a manual job only? Do we have some automated, some machines? No. ERP systems, right? Systems are there. And sometimes laptops and computer hardware items used for this. Right? So, and then of course the physical resources like the buildings, offices, branches, how many of them are available, also indicate the capacity. Isn't so? Right? Physical capacities required for providing, creating and deliver the service. So those are physical capacities in addition to the labor capacity. Hope you can understand it. Including other facilities like welfare facilities, sanitary facilities, the size of the canteen, right? Everything matters. Clear? I will come back to these three measures later, right? And these two capacity ratios also later. And we'll quickly move to this slide, slide number 12, to understand what we mean by capacity planning. Capacity planning. Strategic capacity planning. When you go through this, you may not understand it, but simply you will understand it. But simply, capacity planning is all about now whoever involved in this decision from the business side. First of all, they should assess the demand for their product or service in future. Right? They should understand what is expected in the market, the size, the volume expected in the market. That we call capacity requirements. We need to understand. Then they need to understand, they need to assess what we have now So capacity planning is all about then what? Planning how we are going to adjust the existing capacity to meet the future requirements. That's an important strategic decision, and that is called capacity planning. So it's all about establishing or determining the overall capacity level of the operations resources, whether that is labor or size of the processes. Capacity levels of capital intensive resources such as factories, facilities and equipment, or the overall capacity of labor forces that is appropriate to operate and fulfill the market requirements while contributing to the organization to practically implement the operation strategies and be competitive in the market. This is an important decision. These decisions may affect on strategic aspects as well as tactical aspects as mentioned here. Strategic in the sense long-term decisions like when to spend on capacity, how much capital should be invested, and when they should be spent. Tactical issues like what should be the size of workforce, inventory levels, and various other things, equipment, workforce, and thereby avoid these two situations in the market, these two situations in the organization. One is the first situation, overcome capacity shortages here. The second thing is overcome excessive capacity, because both of them are practically not appropriate. Instead, we need to have capacity as needed. Why we say so? What happens actually when a firm does not have enough capacity? If you are to answer the first question, what happens, whether that is a factory or a service, what are the operational issues when they run short of capacity? Can you think for a while and tell me? Okay, they are going to lose some amount of profits that they could have earned if they had enough capacity. That is one main reason. So we call it lost sales. It's also the profit, the revenue that we could have generated had been enough capacity. There can be lost sales. Can we write them down? A few of them. As we correctly call it out. One is there will be lost profit or lost sales. Lost sales. One might say lost sale is not a big problem. That happens anyway, right? Is that the case? Can we understand the severity of it? What happens? That is what? When they are unable to get products from us, service from us, they for a one time go to a competitor and they will not come back. They are there forever. Sometimes. One time when we lose a customer, probably for the long term, the lifetime. That is the issue. We should be ready with the right capacity. When they come to us, we should be able to quickly grab them, grab the sales, and keep the customer with us. Otherwise, we are going to lose it. We will lose the customer forever. On the other side, those sales affect on the reputation, isn't so? When they come, when our capacity is not there, when they reject the order, that affect negatively on our reputation, our image. That's not good. Reputational damage. Customer frustration. Can you understand it? So, severe outcomes. So that is one main reason, one main outcome. In addition to that, there can be many other operational outcomes, business outcomes. Can you name a few? What happens when capacity is not adequate? Increase unit cost. How come? Can you understand it? How can you describe it? Increase when the capacity, when you don't have enough capacity, how come the unit cost increases? Okay. So in that way, when we argue, however, I accept that there's a valid point there, but it won't happen every time. But there's a possibility of happening. Right? When we produce at low level, low volume, high likely unit cost will be at higher level. So there's a concept in capacity also, right, that you have come across. We call it. I have removed it. I guess. Oh no, it's here. There's a concept called economies of scale. Economies of scale. That is what he is pointing out. Right? Higher level. I mean, sorry. Lower scale or lower capacity would result in higher fixed cost and then higher average cost. Right? So when we increase the volume, say for an example, this is 100 unit plant, this is 200 unit plant. So due to various different economies of scale, we will be able to produce at low cost. The operating the unit cost would be lower, and 300 unit plant would be capable of producing even lower, even at lower volume or lower cost. But due to some reasons, when you increase the volume further, due to something called diseconomies of scale, sometimes unit cost may increase also. That is true. That concept is there, so managers should identify at which level they are able to manufacture at lowest cost. True. But does that happen all the time when we operate at low level? When we run short of capacity? That can happen, of course. Right? That can happen, but not necessarily. There can be some other reasons, other consequences. Employee pressure. What do you mean by that?
They are required to work long hours.
Existing workers, they will be pressurized to work for longer hours. Does that happen in your industry? Often happens. So managers don't understand the severity of it. So due to capacity issues, what happens? Existing workforce suffers a lot. Not only short term, medium term, long term, they have been working long hours, night shifts, no sleep at all. Close into the month end, close into the engagement end, right? Is that good? Is that productive? No. Not in the long run at all. Right? So those may result in employee frustration, right? Sometimes unnecessarily physically fatigue, mentally fatigue. Is that good in the long run? No. What happens finally? Competent employees, qualified employees, well-trained employees, they may leave the company. They can't bear the pressure. Is that happening? So when we run short of capacity, employees frustrated, overburdened, overpressurized. Very valid. So they need to overcome it to get the maximum productivity, maximum engagement, maximum contribution, commitment. Yes, there's a level they can be. Beyond that, they can't. And you know something? There can be physical illnesses. There can be mental illnesses. So that is another issue. Employee frustration, employee overburden, and as a result, absenteeism and more importantly the turnover. Employee turnover be high. Employee dissatisfaction would be high. They may not turn over, and they may not leave the company, but they are disappointed. Understanding? That's not a good sign. Good. What else? From operation side, what else that can happen? Production delays. You are unable to supply on time. Supply delays. Some customers may not tolerate at all. They may reject the orders. They may cancel the orders. We run out of capacity, we are unable to supply. So they may reject the orders, although we deliver it. There can be compensation sometimes. For the delay, we will have to compensate our customers. Right? So those are issues. Now, do you agree when I say when run short of capacity, quality also affected? Quality of product, quality of service may be compromised sometimes. Do we? Quality suffers. Because we have limited time, more orders. So what we do? Hurry up production, hurry up service creation and delivery, and thereby quality would be compromised. Is that good? So those are common issues that we need to overcome. Right? How about the second situation here? A firm having capacity more than needed. A firm having more employees than needed, more machinery than needed. We call it excessive capacity. What are the consequences? What are the issues? Resource idling. Idling resources is the main problem there. Resource idling. Right? It could be labor. It could be machines. So idling. Although resources are idling, we'll have to pay. For the workers, we'll have to pay. For the machines and everything, we have already invested. So their contribution, right? Return would be minimum. So as a result, what can happen? The overhead cost would be higher. So per unit operating cost would be higher. Can you understand it? So that is one. Resource idling. So higher overhead cost. So that would result in higher per unit cost. And as accountants, as finance managers, this could be another main thing you are worrying about. Already invested, tied up capital would be higher without getting the real contribution from it. That is another situation. So hope you can understand. Whoever involved in this decision, we'll later identify who involved here. Whoever involved in these capacity decisions, they need to make sure they avoid both situations: capacity shortages and capacity or excess capacity, and maintain appropriate level of capacity. And that is what we call capacity. determining the best overall or the overall capacity to fulfill the market requirement and thereby contribute to the business strategy, operation strategy. Right. That that decision affect on various aspects, like on its cost structure, whether we can determine whether we can supply the market demand, and the other factors also. Firm's response rate, firm's product quality levels, its inventory policies, and etc. etc. Is that clear? I hope so. What do you mean by response rate here? Well, response rate, now assume that a firm gives certain number of orders. They give certain number of orders. Right. Out of which they would accept only certain number of orders. When we calculate it as a percentage, out of the total orders received, how many orders accepted? That is the response rate. Response rate. A lower response rate. A lower response rate, like 30% to 50%, indicates what? They have received 100 orders but accepted only 30. Is that a good rate? No. They had rejected all the other, especially mainly due to capacity shortages. That means they would have accepted the remaining 70 orders also, maybe 50 orders also. Right? That they couldn't do because they didn't have enough capacity. So lower response rate. It's a problem. Right? So that is why capacity planning is important. Right. With that, let's quickly move to decide how to manage or how to plan capacity. So this is the main objective of capacity management. As you see it here, to provide or to maintain an appropriate amount of capacity at any point in time. Right. However, what we mean by appropriateness, right, may depend on various different aspects. The appropriateness of capacity planning in any part of the operations can be judged, can be assessed by its effect on various different things like the cost. What is the appropriate capacity level that minimizes the cost? What is the appropriate level of capacity that maximizes the revenue? What is the appropriate capacity level that maximizes the working capital, or in other words, that minimizes the working capital requirements? Can you understand it? What is the appropriate capacity level that enhances the service level, and etc. etc. So that how to manage capacity, how to plan the capacity, and who involves there. Slide number 17. Introduces you a simple process that has few steps. And in textbooks, this is what they explain as capacity planning process. Generic process. to make capacity decisions in a systematic manner. And this is what we are going to talk about. As you see here, when making capacity decisions, there are these different steps. It begins with assessing the existing capacity. They should know what we have now in terms of machines, machine hours, capacity, what we have. In terms of labor hours, labor, what we have now. In terms of factories, production lines, what we have now. Right? So first of all, they need to assess the existing capacity. What is the second step? They need to assess the capacity requirements in future. In machine hours, labor hours, what we require in future. That we can't simply assess, and usually in manufacturing firms, they depend on the demand for their products. That can be easily estimated. So they call it demand forecasting, right? For different products, different product lines. They do the product forecasting, and then based on that, they calculate the capacity requirements. So that is how they do it. So the same can be used in services also. So you assess demand for your services and convert that into capacity requirement. Can you understand it? I hope so. So accordingly, we can identify whether we have enough capacity or whether we need to adjust the capacity. To understand this, other steps I will explain a little later. Just consider this example. This is a very simple example. Extremely simple, right? Nowhere close to the practical situations, but just assume you are given this information. Like a factory is producing 3 items, product 1, 2, and 3, 3 items using one machine in a production line. One machine in the production line. And the forecasted demand for each item for the next year is given below. So for the product 1, 400 units needed. Product 2, 300 units needed. Product 3, 700 units needed. You are also provided what are the standard processing time per unit for each product. Assume that the factory operates for 8-hour, 1-hour shift, 8-hour, 1 shift. Right? Works 1 8-hour shift per day and operates for 250 days a year. And estimate the machine capacity requirement for the next year. Fulfill this step, right, to forecast the capacity requirement for the next. So how you would calculate it? Can you understand it? Very simple example. Extremely simple. Nowhere close to the practical complexities. Can we quickly identify the capacity requirement? So what is given here? The annual demand for 3 products and the standard processing time for each unit. So this is also given the total processing time required. Otherwise, you can simply calculate it. How? Multiplying the annual demand by the standard processing time. So you get the annual processing time for each product. So by adding them together, these these three together, you can get the total capacity required. Can we? Yes. So in other words, in our calculation, we can identify the total machine hours required. Total machine hour requirements. Since the values are given here, it's a matter of just adding together. Otherwise, you need to calculate it. So for product 1, 2000 hours. For product 2, 2400 hours. And for product 3, 1400 hours. So that we need a total of 5800 hours. So 5800 hours needed. That is the total number of hours required for the next year. What we are supposed to do, considering the operating hours and other details, estimate the machine capacity required. How many machines needed? So that we need to identify available capacity. We need to identify, the information is given here, we need to calculate the available machine capacity. Now, how many machines they have? Only one. So only one machine that operates only one shift that runs for 8 hours. So per day, 8 hours. Right? One machine, one shift, 8 hours. Right? And how many days the factory operates? So 250 days. Right? So this number of hours we have. Can you understand it? I think so. So how many? 2000. We have 2000 hours of machine capacity. It's very simple. Right? Practically, factories may find it difficult to calculate this because they produce different products, they have different capacities. So, capacity required. Machine capacity required. How to calculate it? Total capacity requirement divided by available capacity. Simple. Total capacity available requirement divided by available capacity. Total capacity requirements divided by available capacity. Right. So accordingly, 5800 divided by 2000. That gives an answer like 2.9. When you round it up, that is 3. So what does this number mean? Okay, now we have one machine. But to cater the new next year demand, how many machines we need? 2.9 machines. That means 3 machines, right? How many they have as of now? Only one, right? Then they need to plan, project the capacity available over a planning horizon. Now, for the next year they have one, but they need three more. Sorry, they have one, they need total of three. So how many new needed? Two more machines needed to fulfill the next. So likewise, so we can estimate the capacity needed, that is based on the demand, and then we can identify what is the capacity we have, and accordingly identify alternative ways to modify the capacity. So now, when we plot the values like this over a period of time, next quarter, next year, likewise. So assume that the capacity is this, that is constant, that is stable. So there will be a period where the demand or the capacity is lower than demand or the capacity requirement is lower than what is available. Is that good? As you already identified, no. Excess capacity would result in unnecessarily higher operating costs. So they need to find a way to manage this issue. Plan it. That is what we call identifying alternative ways to modify capacity. And at the same way, there will be certain time periods where the capacity is just sufficient to meet the demand. And at the same time, some other periods, capacity requirement is higher than what they have. So what alternatives are there? Adjust the capacity and face it without facing capacity shortages. That is what we call identifying alternative ways to modify capacity. Now, these alternatives, there can be many different. We will identify what are the operational operations capacity alternatives that can be used in different industries, different businesses. However, before selecting the best alternative or most suitable alternatives, as you can understand, proper evaluation should be done in terms of financial aspects, in terms of economical aspects or technological aspects, and evaluate them and select the best alternative to implement to overcome the capacity problems. And that decision-making process is called capacity planning. Clear? If you have an idea, we can move to the last part of it. Identify what are the capacity options. In the short and medium term, what are the options available? In the long run, what are the options available? For capital intensive operations, what are the options? For labor intensive, what are the options? So likewise. This is a very simple process, generic idea. Otherwise, we don't know how to make a decision. Now, this shows us, okay, first of all, we need to assess the capacity available. Then we need to assess or estimate the capacity requirements and project them for a period of time to identify whether there are any gaps. To modify or to bridge the gaps, we need to have suitable capacity alternatives. Clear? Any quick questions? You can have 2 to 3 minutes in class break or 5 minutes break. Want to go to refreshments? How about the next lecture? At what time that will be started? 3 or 3:50? 3 or 3:50? You have a lecture? 3, right? Is that from 3? What is the game? 350, 330. Oh, okay. 5 minutes. Itu pasti apa itu? Tulis lah, turun lah kata. Terus 3 to 3:15 you have a break. Let's have a 5 minutes. Shall we start? Now this topic will be the main topic we are going to consider for your group assignment. Now you are supposed to form groups. Do you have it already formed groups? How many members are there? 4, 5. So you can, I mean, I am not going to interfere. You can work in the same group or different group. However, the size should be 4 to 5 members in a group. Right? Not more than that. Well, this assignment will have 2 steps. One is to complete this industry visit, talk to some managers of selected organization, and prepare a report and present that to the other groups also. Right? You have to genuinely do it to get more marks. Since it is one assignment, for the total marks, you should make sure you do it better, right, and get good marks for that. So this is what you should know. Now, we discussed several things related to operations capacity. And there are a few more to discuss here, especially some other capacity concepts. Then of course, capacity modification techniques, and then how to evaluate them and all, right? That are applicable for different industries differently. So you are to select one organization. It could be a manufacturing organization or a service one. It doesn't matter. Or you may select the same organization that you work. Right? Could be a manufacturing organization producing products like ice cream manufacturing, elephant house, or tire factory, SEAT, or a garment factory producing garment items, right? Or Damro, furniture manufacturing, or whatever. Better you select a good company so that you can learn something latest, rather than selecting a small, even medium scale business that does not have enough management systems. Or you may select a service organization, like a school, or a university, or supermarket, a bank, a restaurant, to study their capacity related issues. So we haven't discussed yet who involved in capacity decisions, but you can understand. Is this a decision that operations managers make alone? Can they make that decision alone? No. Because this is a strategic decision. This involves whether to invest on new factories, new production lines, new machinery, new workforce. It's a strategic decision which the top management should involve. Sometimes the managing director, MD, or the chairman, or the board of directors together may decide it. With the suggestions of operations managers, production managers, top management will have to finalize this. Right? So you have to talk to them at the top level, middle low, senior level managers who are involved in making some capacity related decisions, including the finance manager, because these are investments. Right? New factory means a new investment. That should be decided by the finance, that should be approved by the finance director also. So you may talk to finance people, you may talk to senior managers and operations managers of a selected organization to identify their capacity related issues, especially from operation side, but you can talk to other managers also. So what are the capacity issues you could identify? We need to summarize them. Right? There can be many issues if you pay attention. So this is a tentative structure that I have given. You may have your own structure. What I expect is a genuine output around 10 to 12 pages maximum. That's enough. 10 to 12 pages. That has one area to introduce the organization. I tentatively suggest 2 to 3 pages. You can decide, not more than that. So where you introduce what is the organization, its history briefly, and in which industry it operates, what are the main products or services they produce as of now, right? Using what type of technology where they are at the moment, and then what are the, I mean not in detail, but roughly what type of processes, operating processes they use, because capacity depends on the processes. Little more details, not more than 2 to 3 pages about the organization. Don't copy paste from the same web page, right? What I'm expecting here is more specific detail. You don't get this from ChatGPT because you are going to select one organization, write about that, right? AI generated content can be identified. So if you're planning to do it now, don't do it. Better, because then only you can get the access to the information, right? And sometimes you can even visit the factory if needed, right? If you commit as a factory visit and go and see, that's really great, possible. Otherwise, you may arrange a meeting or an online discussion with the managers, right? And a Zoom session or a let's say Zoom session. You ask some questions, you look for the information, and you finalize it. So, right. But better if you can visit the factory and see, visit the service outlet and see. That is the first part. And the main part of the report is about the capacity issues. There can be various different capacity issues. When we complete this topic, other concepts and other capacity related strategies and all, you will identify in this organization what are the main issues you could identify, you could relate as capacity issues. So this is the main content. I would expect 3 to 4 to 5 pages. Point 4, you introduce the capacity issue and describe it with facts and figures, whatever possible. Don't look for confidential data, confidential information. They don't reveal them anyway. So have a general idea. That's enough. General idea. Summarize them. Now, you can't generally say these are the capacity issues. It should be about the organization you studied. Then only you will get full marks for this. So capacity could be 5 to 8 different capacity issues. That would be enough. Then you have a clear idea, the main operations and then the capacity issues they have. Addressing them, you are to propose some appropriate capacity solutions, recommendations, so strategies. Basically, from the theory part we study here, and the information, sometimes they themselves they tell you, we have these issues. As of now, we are implementing some of these solutions. In future, we are going to do something like this. Right. So you as a group may identify. So what are the main recommendations you would propose them to overcome, to manage these capacity issues in future? That should be based on the theory part and the concepts we study here. Don't just write something that you think correct, right? It should be based on the concepts we discuss here. This is how you can show that you have learned something, right? And you have learned from the managers who shared information with you. Clear? The total 40 marks will be allocated to one assignment. I'm telling you, take it serious. If you can secure 35 or above out of 40, that's really great. You can easily secure 20 marks for the report and another 20 marks for the same presentation. The same content, 2, 3, I mean, there are 3, 4 to 5 members. So 2, 3 individuals will present the findings to the audience, including me, so that you can share your learning points with others. That is the purpose. And for that, you get 20 marks, and the report 20 marks. That is a group mark. Presentation 12 group marks, 8 for the individual confidence and the contribution during the presentation. Right? So okay, total 20. Anything else you want to know? Yeah. Now, 1st of September, would you be able to finalize it by second week of October, not the first week, so that you have 5 more weeks to go. Shall we make it 12th Saturday? Do you have any other assignments falling on the same weekend? Not yet. Then we can possible, right? So let's tentatively consider it as 12th of October. I will create a link on the LMS so that you can access report. So probably week after that, or probably any convenient day after that, we can arrange the presentation. Why you can manage it within 3 weeks? Why I have suggested here 5 weeks, so that you will still have a little more time to manage other work, because you are coming from industry, you have other commitments also. So that is why. So make it a point to start it now. Find an organization, right? If one organization do not give their permission, you have some backup plans. Then, as a group, you need to collect information, organize a meeting with them, if possible, visit the factory or the service outlet, right? Record data, whatever you need, plan what questions you are going to ask, because you can't go there as outsiders. Right? Yes, of course, you are outsiders, but when you go there, you should show them that you have studied their organization to some extent. what the product they produce, who their competitors are, the technology behind it, capacity problems that you tentatively identify. You should show that. You have an idea. Then ask some questions. Good questions to get good answers. Then summarize them into a report. Right. Now, to complete this assignment, the rest of the techniques, other concepts we are going to discuss here will be useful. To complete this assignment better. So far, we have identified certain details, right? And then what we mean by capacity planning, and then objectives of capacity management, and then this process. There are little more time, so let me tell what we are going to complete in this topic furthermore. Now, are we ready? Any questions about the assignment? Most of the time, exemption group participants, they do their assignments better. That is what I have experienced compared to the normal batches, because they are still soon after A-levels they have just joined, so that they don't have the connections with the industry. They don't have organizations, do not have organizations to visit. Compared to that, you are lucky. You have the connections, you have the industrial links. Use your personal contacts, friends. Select a good company. Could be manufacturing organization, could be a service. Any other questions? No issues. If you have any other doubts, contact me over the phone or send me an email. If you need some permission, I don't think so. You may use your personal contacts and find organizations. If you need some permission letters, request from Shashinika, she will arrange. Right, this is what we are going to cover. Now, when it comes to capacity, hello. Now, this is not about immediate future. Right? This is not about immediate future. It depends on the industry. Some industries, capacity decisions are made for 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years ahead. So that is long term. So accordingly, capacity adjustments are, capacity modification techniques are time bound. Some are short term, some are medium term, and some are long term. So your suggestions even here, recommendations, and be introducing that. What are the immediate solutions, short term solutions? What are the medium term and what are the long term solutions? Now, for example, here, when it comes to capacity management strategies, we call it strategies for reconciling operations capacity and demand. There are three basic, in fact, two main strategies and one more. Some organizations follow this strategy. Some industries, this work better. This is the most practical way to do it. That we label as, that we name as level capacity strategy. level capacity. Whereas some other industries, they prefer the second option. We give a name and we call it chase demand strategy. Now, those are the two main strategies. As you see here in level demand, level capacity, now demand fluctuates. Can you see? The demand capacity requirements are varying. How about the capacity? They maintain the same level, constant level capacity, because technically it is not possible to adjust it. So they maintain a stable level. And in such a case, how to adjust the capacity, that is different. What strategy, what techniques, what strategies can be used, that is different. What happens here? Can you understand? Demand varies. The white line, that is the capacity, also adjusted, chasing the demand. Flexibly, capacity adjusted, we call it chase demand. May be appropriate for some organizations, some industries. So these are the two approaches, right? So here in this list, slide number 21, we identify what are the common tactics used for capacity adjustment. We'll explain next week in detail. I haven't completed the lecture, right? So these are different techniques we'll discuss. So this is useful to complete this assignment better. For the organization using it, some of these tactics may be appropriate. Basically for short term and medium term. In addition to that, when it comes to long-term capacity adjustments, right, there are of course different adjustments. That is for the long term, more than 1 year, 1 to 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So what are the long-term capacity adjustments? Can you understand it? Under both strategies, level capacity strategies, different tactics, chase demand, different tactics, likewise. When it comes to long-term adjustments especially, you can also see that different adjustment strategies can be appropriate for different industries. One is called lead strategy, and for some it's lead strategy. For some other organizations, lag strategy. Those are different approaches. In fact, match strategy or dynamic strategy, those are different approaches. So let's discuss them in detail later, next week. But you need to go through it. And for the assignment purpose, that is really useful. In addition to these two strategies, often for reconciling the capacity and demand, most of the organizations use this strategy also, what we call demand management. It's not capacity strategy, but this is also used. Demand management. What does that mean? As you see here, the simple idea is this. Now demand is constant. Capacity is constant, demand varies, right? But through demand management, what has happened here? Demand management. You manipulate the demand. Using what? Not from operation side, manufacturing side, but from marketing. Proper sales and marketing tactics, you manipulate the demand. When the demand is low, you stimulate it. Otherwise, capacity is idling. When demand is high, you discourage it to maximize the capacity. And for that, you use what? Different marketing and sales strategies. So demand or managing demand. So you should be able to identify some strategies for the selected organization. Clear? We'll discuss in detail, but you need to go through this area since we discuss it now and come very with some questions. In addition to that, what I will explain next week is this. Now, when it comes to capacity, there are these different capacity measures and their concepts. Especially 3 capacity measures, what we call design capacity, and then effective capacity, and actual. Design, the maximum amount we expect. Whereas effective, due to some reasons, we cannot go to the maximum capacity. There can be some losses. Why? Some losses that we can't practically realize. So effective capacity is often lower than the design due to some reasons. In fact, the next one, that is actual capacity, could be even lower than the effective capacity due to some other reasons. How managers should overcome or manage these situations, that we need to discuss. That are related to capacity issues and then of course recommendations. Understanding? That we will discuss. In addition to that, there are these 2 capacity ratios often used. One is capacity utilization ratio and efficiency ratio. We'll discuss next week. Understanding? All in all, what did we discuss today after the first part of the topic, the previous class? We talked about operations capacity planning. What capacity is, what are the issues of capacity shortages and excess capacity, why capacity planning is important, then what is capacity planning and the planning process. Then also we identified what are the different capacity strategies available. Reconciling with this. Hope to discuss more later. Start contacting organization, completing assignment, then you will be ready for our discussion. Take care.